constant realities of real estate in Australia is that we don't have a single property market. We have lots of different markets, and many of them are doing contrasting things. Now, the complicating factor is that economists and media tend to discuss Australia as one market, and they talk about what's happening with Australian property prices as if the single situation is happening right across the country, and obviously that's not the case. Right now we have markets that are rising strongly, some that are rising moderately, some that are stagnating, some falling a little and some falling a lot. So one of the consequences of that reality is what's happening in some of our regional areas stands in stark contrast to what's happening with some of our capital cities. Now that's particularly true in Victoria and New South Wales. For the past couple of years, both Sydney and Melbourne have been going through their downturn phase post-boom. But in the regional areas of both those states, we've been seeing many, many markets rising very strongly. I would say that the two strongest markets right now in Australia continue to be regional Victoria and regional New South Wales. Regional New South Wales, across the state of New South Wales, there are multiple regional markets, regional cities and regional towns, which are doing quite the opposite to what's been happening recently with Sydney. Where Sydney has been subsiding, these markets have been rising. So it's timely that we have published this week the new edition of our top 5 regional New South Wales hotspots report. And the problem we've had in compiling that report is not so much identifying 5 growth markets as the problem's been who do we leave out, because there have been so many, there are literally dozens of locations where sales activity is rising and prices have been rising as a consequence of that. Some markets in regional New South Wales are past their peak. The Newcastle market and the Wollongong markets are 2 examples. They rose earlier than many of the other regional centres. It's probably to be expected that the regional areas closest to Sydney caught a bit of a ripple effect from Sydney when it was booming, and so they rose first. But now we're seeing those markets like Newcastle, Wollongong, the Central Coast, the Southern Highlands, the Blue Mountains starting to plateau out. But there's a lot more to regional New South Wales than those near Sydney regional centres and towns. Others continue to rise strongly, and we've had the problem of who do we leave out. Coffs Harbour, for example, is still producing price growth, 5 or 6% in the last 12 months. Dubbo is another very solid regional centre, rising at 5%, but they haven't made the cut for this edition of Top 5 Regional Hotspots report. Bathurst, its median price has risen 10% in the last 12 months, but it hasn't made the cut either. So get the latest copy, the new edition of our Top 5 Regional New South Wales Hotspots report to find out who did make the cut, which are the 5 locations that we think have the best chances for upside moving forward, not just in the short term, but also the long term. And as I always say, buying in a good, strong regional centre is a win-win-win situation for property investment. The first win is that you're buying at much lower prices than the capital cities, particularly in contrast to Sydney. The second one is you're going to be getting much better rental yields than you would in the capital cities. And the third is if you choose wisely, if you buy in the right regional centre, you're going to be getting good prospects for capital growth moving forward. So there's the potential there for a win-win-win situation. If you get a copy of our top 5 regional New South Wales hotspots report and have a look at the locations that we're suggesting are going to be outperformers moving forward, and perhaps take some action on that. The timing is good. As I'm sure you're all aware, prospects for real estate have turned positive quite dramatically in the last couple of months post-federal election, with the interest rate reductions, the tax cuts, and the changes announced by APRA making life a whole lot easier for people wanting to get into the market as property investors. That's it for now. Terry Ryder from hotspotting.com.au signing off. Talk to you again soon.